Welcome to the first Finalist Friday of 2022. This is something that we started last year and our members really liked it, so we decided to continue on. As you probably remember from the annual meeting, we awarded 3 grants of $110,000. One of those grants went to Cognition, and here with us today is the Executive Director of Cognition, Kimmy Winkle. Kimmy is a native of Traverse City. She has a bachelor's in family life education. And about 6 years ago, she and her mom decided to research and develop Cognition, which has now been up and running in Beulah since 2017. And on top of that, she has 4 kids. I don't know how she's doing it. But she's here with us today to tell us about all the great things that they have going on at Cognition. Kimmy, take it away.
All right, thank you so much. So I am sitting in our Earth and Space lab, and it doesn't look a lot different yet. A lot of our preliminary work has been behind the scenes, but you'll see behind me this cool, and I've got a picture of it on that I can share in a minute, but there's one computer here and one on this side. These are our high octane best graphic card gaming computers that will run the virtual reality station. So this is our first prototype we built last year of a driving simulator rig. And so now with the grant, we'll be able to have 4 of these set up. So you see the steering wheel. The funny thing is that when virtual reality is not running, we use this room right now. We get out like building blocks and use other things and use this space. And kids will always be sitting at the driving, like even if it does nothing, they like to use the steering wheel and the pedals. So it's very impressive when they're actually in virtual reality. So we have had, as we're getting things ready, we've had the ability, Aaron spent a lot of time building these computers, and he's been able to test them out now. So we've had the ability to have 3 kids work collaboratively in VR at the same time, which is the first, and it's so much fun. So it just like, it makes the experience that much better to be doing it with somebody and gives us so much more ability. So we're able to kind of test it out in small phases as we're going. And on the planetarium front, we had the whirlwind experience of going to a planetarium convention. So I didn't even know this was a thing. I think once the award of our grant hit the news, we had a planetarium company call us from Seattle, Washington, and wanted to tell us about their system. And in talking to this gentleman, we learned that there's a Great Lakes Planetarium Association. It's the largest one in the country, and they happen to be holding their annual conference in Kalamazoo this year. So Aaron and I were able to like carve out 4 days, head down to Kalamazoo with like a week's notice and go into this world of planetarians, which I didn't even know was a name. And we pretty much joined a cult, but it's fabulous. There were probably 80 professionals, and they're astrophysicists and planetarians from universities and museums. The Adler Museum from Chicago was represented, that had the first planetarium in the world. And so I kind of felt like a wedding crasher, like, Aaron, don't tell anybody. I love space exploration, but I am not knowledgeable at all. So my whole goal was just to like keep my mouth shut and nod my head and smile. And we learned so much. We walked away. I've got a notebook full of information. And the cool thing about this conference is that there were breakout sessions and everything, but we ate together. And so at the table, I've got my notebook open, and we're sitting with different people that have been in the field for 25, 30 years and asking them questions. And I can tell you, I am more excited about this than I have ever been. I think the concept of a planetarium experience in my mind was that we were going to be playing a lot of pre-made shows. And what I learned is that really they're finding that pairing a pre-made show with a live tour is the best experience. And then you're it's super interactive, just like everything at Cognition. So it's like, oh, this is like speaking our language. We actually did a whole day workshop on making your planetarium more interactive. So just like keeping things conversational, being able to, you know, ask the kids questions and respond by showing them things that they're talking about. I'm trying to like think of how I can paint a picture of it. It's like a virtual reality experience at Cognition, but we'll be able to give it to a whole class at a time. You know, what's your favorite planet? Oh, let's go there. And then the digital software now gives you the ability to fly to a planet in 3 dimensions, and you're sitting in the round. So it's, and learned other things about just using art, music, theater in the dome. We actually did karaoke in the dome at this conference. So it was super fun, really helped us expand our ideas of what we're going to be able to do. I have to tell you, like, in this downstate setting, the people that we talked to just couldn't believe that Traverse City didn't have a planetarium already. And it's like, no, we're going to be the groundbreakers. So I think we've decided this is like our gateway drug to having a large permanent planetarium someday where we could have, you know, 60 seats, and it's just an extraordinary opportunity. So that being said, we also met a lot of other companies that really the Star Labs planetarium that we first identified is kind of it's like the Linux to Microsoft Word. You know, it's would give us everything that we wanted to do and make it's very user friendly. But I think that fits more in an area that's saturated with big museums and universities. And this is kind of like the little travel one that goes around to the schools. So we did learn about a couple of other companies that have a lot more to offer in the way of software and the hardware, which is Aaron's our tech guy, so he's all about the pixels and the lumens and the memory and the graphics ability. And so we're in these deliberations, and one of them, I thought I had a picture of it, is called Digistar, and they have, this doesn't really show a good picture. This is one of the pre-made shows that we could get. Like, there's just so much. We'd see the teasers, and I want all of them. They work like movies. You have to get the licenses and everything, but we also got a lot of tips on where to get free ones. And we met our closest planetarium is in Bay City and Alpena. I guess I'm not sure which one is closer, but we met the Bay City Planetarian. He's super excited that we're neighbors. He's like, come over, take a tour. I'll give you all the resources I can. I'll help you with everything. So it's a very collaborative industry. And if I can I share my screen? Is that okay, Sam? Let me see if I can show you. Need that.
Do you see the button?
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
Let's see, here is, okay, so this is Aaron was running the collaborative. You can see that it's not just students, we have a dad in there. This is, he loves to use people as guinea pigs because then it's like a free extra fun at Cognition. You can see our check is displayed in this room all the time. We love to tell people what's coming. And then this is how Aaron's mind works. So I'm just super grateful to have him on the team. He put together this really fantastic little grid. Oh, I'm signed in as my daughter. That's fun. But if I can scroll through it, so you can see this is what the details look like, trying to compare these apples to apples. And like, I have all these sloppy notes in a notebook. So I think this goes to show that we're just being really conscientious of the investment that this is, and wanting to make sure that we're doing, there's a lot of factors. The absolute getting the absolute best that we can with our grant. Could probably zoom this out so you could see more. It's really, it kind of gives me a headache sometimes looking at, because then I go back to, I'm like, wait a minute, which one had the better contrast ratios? So there's that. And then for simplicity, he put this back into like a nice little overview with pictures. So they're graded right now. And we're waiting on some figures. This Seiler Zeiss package here is our favorite so far, but the estimates, the numbers in there are estimates from, we've done Zoom tours of these planetariums with the different companies. And so it was just from discussion. We haven't actually seen their bid yet. So we're, I'm ready. Like, man, come on. We've got these last figures. We got to get them in and then we'll get everything ordered. Obviously, we don't want to change too much in the room until we know how the planetarium fits in here. We've got some furniture to move, and I'm all about like getting some more space stuff on the walls to make it exciting. And in the meantime, I guess I could stop sharing my screen. In the meantime, just doing like preliminary marketing. So I've been trying to put this like a little overview brochure of Cognition. We've got field trips coming again. We've got a middle school program we're kind of brushing the dust off of now that people are getting out and about more. So on the back, I just thought you'd like to see this. I've got our little coming soon Earth and Space Lab here. So it makes it feel so real and exciting. So that's going to go out through spring break. And I've already had teachers calling about field trips. And so I think we're kind of just like getting ready right now and getting everything in place so that our field trip information is streamlined, our space is ready, we have the right equipment with the right materials, and we have a bunch of resources at the ready now. I joke about the Great Lakes Planetarium Association being a cult because like when you register, after the conference, we also got a registry with everybody's information. So it's like, oh, remember that guy, Bob, we were talking to, and we can look up his information and get a hold of him and ask him all the questions. So I could ramble on forever. Are there any questions?
Yeah, so there is a question in the chat from Lindsay. Lindsay Raymond is our grant review chair. I just realized I was so excited for you to talk to us. I never introduced myself either. I'm Sam Carnes. I'm the president of Impact. We also have Lindsay, who is the grant review chair, who guides our focus committees along in the finalist selection process, and then Marty Olson, who is our nonprofit liaison. So she gets the great privilege of maintaining a relationship with the nonprofits after they win their grants. So this question from Lindsay is the possible change in equipment going to modify your expected timeline?
Oh, that's a great question. It should not modify our timeline at all. One of the companies we were looking at, their like fine print in their quote said it was like a 3 to 5 month shipping period. We're like, that doesn't work. It wasn't true. It was like, I think it's 3 to 6 weeks, they said. But as long as we order this month, all of the equipment should be shipped in plenty of time to train and review and practice with it. So we're looking good for May. And Aaron's got the 3rd computer started. You can kind of see like, as we get computer equipment, it usually goes to Aaron's like landing spot to come and put that one together. Oh, the other cool thing about the computers that you can't see, just because we made them glass, we're going to label the parts. So, if a person, I say kid a lot, but it's for the parents too. Well, when somebody's in here waiting for their turn, they can just look at a computer and see these guts labeled, like what the different components are and what they do. And the fun thing is that these all have LED lights in them so it looks really fancy, but also the light changes per the heat that it's putting outputting, which shows how much that component is being used. So that whole thing is like an experience that just blows my mind that he can even put those together. So very visually exciting, even when you're not actually in the VR.
So speaking of the VR, I had a question about that. You said that your system allows 3 kids to work now I can't say that word either, collaboratively. What kinds of things are they working on?
So I know one of the things that we've utilized before that we could only put 2 people in was running a submarine. So you have somebody who has to is in the engine room and somebody else is navigating, and you have to talk to each other and do things at the same time. And at the end of the experience, you actually have to launch a missile and try to hit a target. That one we had tried out with a borrowed system since we didn't have 2 at the time. So there's experiences like that. I think he had them driving together. So I don't know if they were racing, but usually people are up and walking around. When they're in a chair, they're usually drying or doing something that would, you have to be really careful about the dizziness, you know, if you're visually moving, but your body's not. So Aaron tests we do a lot of trials with adults before we give kids an experience to make sure it's not going to make them dizzy. Or he actually had his siblings here over Christmas break in the evening to try some things out on them before we tested it on the kids. Let's see, I can see this. So 1 and 3-year-olds, that's a great question about the littlest kids. 3 is usually first, the age where Aaron will, I refer to Aaron a lot. He's our virtual reality guy, and he's on our board and he's been volunteering. We actually met him at a TC New Tech meetup, and he was demonstrating how virtual reality could be used for education. I'm like, hey, I want to talk to you. So he's been volunteering for us ever since then and joined our board a couple of years ago. And so we call him the VR guy. And he will be our virtual reality director. And he has done a lot of research on that with kids, making sure that, you know, because their inner ear isn't developed, and making sure that it won't have any adverse effects. So at 3, they get to kind of peek through the headset and look around. You don't have them spend more than 2 minutes there. And then it's 4 or 5, they get a little bit longer experience. And there's certain things that are a lot easier on your mind. I think I described one of our experiences where you're on an ocean, a sunken ship, and ocean creatures are swimming by. So you're kind of just walking around and observing the terrain. And that one doesn't tend to make you quite dizzy or have any of those effects. Very interesting, but there are improvements in the last 5 years. So the new headsets that we just got are phenomenal compared to the one we bought 5 years ago.
Yeah, I bet. I'm really glad that Laureen brought up grandchildren, because so at Cognition, you can just go and pay per visit, but you can also get an annual membership. And one of your membership options is family plus grandparents, right?
Yeah. And so we've talked about this a lot, being, you know, there's lots of different ways to slice it. We have a lot of grandparents that live here year round, and their families aren't here all the time. And so, you know, some places require that the grandparents be with the family too, if they're on the grandparents pass. And we're pretty casual here. It's like, no, if you're, you know, grandma and grandpa bought the pass, you know, come and get the time in while you're here. I think that we make friends with the grandparents just as much as with the kids. I like to think.
So other than the virtual reality and the coming planetarium, what other kinds of things do you have there?
Oh, could show you behind the curtain on the other side. We have lots of animals to hold. So they are the rock stars. We have 2 hedgehogs, 2 African tortoises, 2 different snakes, 2 leopard geckos, a bearded dragon, 4 rats, 3 guinea pigs. And all of these, I'm forgetting, we actually potentially have baby parakeets coming. We have our parakeets laid 4 eggs. So we're waiting for that very anxiously. But we get the animals out and we hold them. We talk about their habitats or where they come from in the world and different diet. You know, it's just a very natural, organic way to talk about some natural science. And kind of, it's also a really safe risk-taking exercise. We've had a couple kiddos like set goals like, well, I'm just going to touch the snake today, but next time I'm going to hold him. You know, and just seeing those really cool developmental processes of taking a safe risk and challenging yourself and challenging your parents. We don't let anybody use the animals as torture devices, which a lot of times little boys like to go after mom if they can, or dad, I should say. Dads are usually more afraid of the snakes than moms. I just noticed this over time. So the animals are the rock stars. We have a gross motor area in the back. We call it the fort. It's a big like kind of indoor play set with some slides. Right now it's a mountain. It's the Discover Mountain Lodge. We're trying to recreate it when we can. We have an airplane cockpit, a big snap circuit set up, a Lego table, lots of building things that change out. So there's everything from a Lego table to marble maze kits and magnet walls. And it's kind of an emporium of interesting things. And
So we have a couple of questions in the chat. Let's see. Autumn is wondering what the cost is to visit, and also the cost of the family membership options.
Yes, so a visit is $7 a person per day, and under 2 is free. One of the things we wanted to do, we watched the state average of different children's museums and science centers, and also we want it to be less than a trip to the movies. It's like, oh, if you can get a day of exploration in for less than going to the movies, I think we hit the sweet spot price wise. And then a membership is currently $75 for a family for the year, and $100 covers grandparents or our Family Plus, which is a family who holds the membership and can bring 2 different guests each time. Our membership might have to go up over the year. I'm trying to hold them where they're at, but we did just get a gift from a local foundation that we're going to incorporate a resident / low income discount, which makes me really happy. So we've kind of been doing it very organically over the last few years, but this way we'll be able to set something up and just know that that lower rate is always there.
So I also just put in the chat at the annual meeting, you might have remembered that we shared the wish list of all of the finalists. And so I just popped Cognition's wish list in the chat just now, if you guys want to take a peek at that. There's another question from Lindsay about a VR escape room. And she wanted to know if you have any plans to do any kind of collaborative VR escape room for kids or puzzle solving type thing.
I would love to do that. So the only thing that I've seen like that so far that we've tested with some adults is one, I forget what it's called. You're trying to defuse a bomb. And so one person is in VR and you have a whole group of people outside of VR who have all the rules for the different parts of this bomb that you have to defuse. Coaching the person in VR how to not blow up. But so there, I have a feeling that more escape room sorts of things are coming. And we were just talking about our goal to draw in teenagers, like the virtual reality and planetarium will be a huge tool. So it's like one of our 5 core goals that we haven't done great yet. And another idea was to make like Cognition itself an escape room somewhere in the area. So development ideas in the future, but yeah, that escape room concept has definitely grown. It sounds really fun.
How long on average do people normally spend in Cognition?
I'd say it's probably about 2 hours.
2 hours?
We really felt like that when we had to do last year, the reservation system that kind of confirmed that. But we've definitely had families, leave and get lunch and come back, or pack a lunch and said we've got some tables that we can clear off the logic puzzles and have room for lunch. But with kids, a lot of times 2 hours is the point at which somebody's going to get hungry or have a meltdown.
Yeah, that was another question we had. It was about food options there. So it sounds like you do allow people to bring lunch in.
Yes. And then we have a lot of cute little local eateries that we try to, promote especially in the summer. Cherry Hut's open. It's right across the street and it's adorable. We can smell the cinnamon rolls in the morning, which is kind of torture. But one of our goals was to also have a little a la carte station where you could get coffee or, a bagel or some snacks. And due to COVID, we kind of put a hold on that. So I could see that coming this summer too. Just if you forgot to throw a granola bar in your purse and someone's having a meltdown.
And for our members who may not have, been part of the grant review committee, or maybe you just don't remember this from the summary, can you tell us when you expect the planetarium to be up and running?
Yes. So May is our target date to officially launch the Earth and Space Lab. I foresee being ready earlier, and we'll probably, as we're ready, just kind of like how we set up virtual reality with the 3 stations, we'll kind of be testing it out and working the kinks out. So we just hope to have everything really organized and able to do it well by May.
Yeah. Does anybody else have any questions? I know there's a lot to talk about. There's a lot of fun stuff going on out there.
I grabbed a whole bunch of props. I don't know why they're not exciting. Oh, here's my notebook I filled at the conference. There's 30 pages of uninteresting things to look at. Yeah, I could peek you around the corner. I think I have enough battery to. I'm gonna go slow so I don't give you whiplash at all, I think. But just peek outside behind the curtain. I feel like the Wizard of Oz. So this is the center. Oh, the window's probably making it quite dark. This is the animal area right here. Let's see if anybody wants to say hello. The rats are my favorite to wake up because they're so cute. So look at their little hammock. This is Scout. They're very curious and personable, kind of like puppies. So animals, we do a lot. We have a lot of things that come from we'll get a very simple toy or tool, and then we see the interest grow. So this little scale here was just came out of one of our science kits and was so much fun to just set a pile of paper clips and things next to it and see the kids interact and balance things out. That we have a bigger one somewhere. Somebody gave us a bigger one, and then we had this guy built last summer. And so a lot of our ideas grow organically out of what's engaging and what's interesting to the kids and the parents and interactive. And, we got a whole set of blocks donated to us. So then we ordered some simple machines to play with the blocks with. So I like to say we layer things so that you might interact with something one way one time, and then you can try, taking those blocks and doing something completely different. And the mess is here instead of in your living room. So that's the benefit.
That is very appealing. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is our
Does anyone else have any questions for Kimmy? Yeah, Lindsay says it's like the magic school bus, but in a building. I think that's a very apt description.
When my hair is down and full humidity is in session, I have been called Miss Frizzle, which is super honoring. I wish that I could actually shrink people and we could go on those adventures, but in the meantime, we'll just collect things. Yeah. Oh, we just moved this airplane cockpit, has been outside since summer. So we moved it in the building for the winter, which is super fun to walk into a building and see an airplane sitting in there. So yeah. I had a middle schooler sitting in there working on his homework the other day. It's like, cool. Yes, I'll do homework in an airplane. Yeah.
Any other questions for Kimmy? All right, well, if we don't have any other questions, I think we will let Kimmy get back to her very busy day. She has a lot to do. She's got a planetarium to plan. Thank you all so much for joining us, and we will see you at the next one. The next one is the first Friday in February. I don't have the date off the top of my head, but first Friday in February, it's at noon again. The 4th. Thank you, Blay. February 4th. We'll see you then.
Right.
Bye, guys. Thanks for joining us.